Happy Halloween. This is probably my least favorite holiday, but I do love reading horror books, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to give some like horror book recs on Halloween. Like what a perfect day to give horror book recs. I'm Sheree, welcome to my channel. If you're back, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. So yeah, I'm just gonna give like a list of horror books that I've read or that I'm reading. There's only one that I'm like reading that I've liked and I thought were really creepy. You know, there's like a mix. There's gonna be a mix. Yes, you're gonna see Stephen King on the list. I know, but I like a couple of his books, so I'm gonna put them on here. But there's also gonna be some other ones that I've had recommended to me that I really liked. So we'll start with the books that I actually have on my shelf. I feel like there's a ton of books that I've read that I don't have anymore, or like I don't have them here, or I read them from the library, or read them from home, and I'm realizing I just don't have them anymore. Let's start with the book that I'm actually reading right now, and that's The Weight of Blood. This is probably the third video, or no, second video that I've mentioned this book in. I'm reading it right now, which is why it's like not in here, but it's a Carrie retelling, and at the center of the story is a biracial girl who does not want anybody to know that she is biracial. And so it's basically following along like the Carrie lines, but there's a lot of like race involved. The story is all about microaggressions and race, and the characters in this are so interesting and I am loving it. It's not grotesque or anything like that, but it's so horrifying. Like I said in one of my other videos that this book takes like things that wouldn't necessarily be horrible to other people, but makes them super horrifying. There's a scene where she's like her dad is like straightening her hair, and just the horror of that, how that can be like a pretty intense experience for people, because you can definitely get burned. And as someone who has tried to straighten their hair for a long time, no longer, that is a pretty intense thing to do. And yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. If it's following like in the vein of Carrie, which it is, I know where it's gonna go, but I love the element of race in it. And that's, to me, this is like my favorite type of horror, where the horror is like racism or this kind of like underlying kind of like things are off, and racism is part of that. Next I have When No One Is Watching. So I guess you could consider this like a thriller, but I don't know. I think it says a thriller, but we're gonna put it in here because again, it's about gentrification and the horrors of gentrification. So it's by Alyssa Cole, and she's normally a romance author, and so there are romance elements in this, but it's definitely in the vein of like Get Out, and I consider Get Out horror. And so this to me is like a great book to read. The horror again in it is gentrification. You know, living in New York, this kind of thing happens all the time. You just see just the slow kind of like infiltration into like a neighborhood, and like, obviously it's like trying to make it better, but you're also pushing out these families that have been there for years, and you're just displacing them. And so the horror in this book is gentrification, and that's pretty blatant, like in the summary and everything like that. And it, you know, it says Rear Window meets Get Out. This is one of the first kind of thrillers where I was like, Jordan Peele needs to make this into a movie. Like, this would be perfect for that. And I loved it. I love this book. I've heard some criticism, but I personally love it, and I think everybody should read it. Now, I have 3 books that I just kind of read, and these I got recommended to me from a horror vlog, like a horror like live show that I watched like maybe a year or so ago, and I finally read a couple of them. The first one is We Need to Do Something. This was actually made into a movie, and I think it's on one of the streaming services. I don't know if it's on HBO or Amazon or Hulu. I don't know, but it was made into a movie, and it's about this family who gets trapped in a bathroom during like a hurricane, and their family just starts disintegrating. It just mentally, physically, it's just bad, and bad things start to happen. And there is one part in here where I literally jumped from reading, and if you've read this book, you probably know the part. This book, it's short, it's creepy, and it's definitely, there's just something a little bit off about everybody in this family. And there could be outside forces working on this. The next one is Gone to See the Riverman. This book is really fucking weird. It's about this girl who is obsessed with this like serial killer and podcasts and all that. And so she goes to visit him in prison, and he asked her to bring back this key. He asked her, go find this key for me. And because she's obsessed with him and loves him, she does that. And she takes her sister, and things start to go awry. Again, something is off. Things start to go a little crazy. And this book is also really, there's some grotesque, disgusting parts in here. And honestly, this book made me want to read more by him, even though this book is really fucked up. So if you like fucked up things, read this. And then last of those three is Stolen Tongues. I don't normally get scared from horror books. This one scared me so much. It was so fucking creepy. It's basically about this couple, and they go to this cabin, and again, something is amiss. And, you know, the wife, she talks in her sleep and very active in her sleep. And the husband can like hear her talking to someone or something. And it's not cool. And this thing it's fucked up, and it's scary. And it's like, if you're looking for something that will like just make you feel like uncomfortable, this one. Next, I have The Troop. I feel like people have seen this one on a lot of lists, and it's really disgusting. If you like gross body horror, this is the one for you. This is the one that has very visual and visceral descriptions of just like bugs and things just like eating your body. And it's so disgusting. It is so disgusting, but it's really good. It had me hooked. I mean, I guess I tabbed when I read it. I read it last year, and I don't even know if I want to go back and see what I tabbed, because it's, if you like body horror, this is the one. And then of course, one of the last ones that I actually physically own is It. I know you'll see this on a lot of people's lists. I read this back in 2018, I think. And I absolutely like loved it. Like Stephen King, he loves to hear himself talk. Like I feel like this book probably could have been not 1,000 pages less, but it's close to 1,000 pages. So probably like 300 pages less. But the story is so captivating, and I feel like everybody knows what this is about. You know, it's, again, you're in a town and you have these kids, and there is, again, something off with this town, something that is infiltrating the town and kind of like seeping in, and these kids are being haunted or chased, I don't even know, by Pennywise the clown. And you find out that, I mean, Pennywise is just one projection of you know, the horrors that these kids are experiencing. But if you want like a really thick read, I think this is good. You know, you can say what you want. I really like this book. Let's just get all the Stephen King out of the way now. I said It as a recommendation, and I will stand by it. I still really like it. But there's two other books that I want to recommend. First is The Shining. I know everybody recommends that book, and I really like it. It is kind of creepy. There's obviously multiple movie adaptation, or one movie adaptation. And we just won't talk about Dr. Sleep like at all. I'm fine with that. But you know, if you want the like creepy kids and a man just slowly becoming unhinged, that's probably the one for you. And it's one of his like earlier works, so it's like very well known, and you know. But my favorite book by him is Misery. And I feel like people don't like that book, but the thing that Misery got us was an Oscar-winning performance. Well, a movie adaptation that led to an Oscar-winning performance by the unbeatable Kathy Bates, okay? The book is good. It's more of a thriller, I would say, but there are some horrifying elements. But the movie adaptation and the performance by Kathy Bates, maybe that's my favorite thing about the whole thing, about the book and the movie, but it's just so, she's just so unhinged. And we love an unhinged woman, and she takes it to a whole new level of obsession and just creepiness. But I just love her so much in that. I remember I read the book for the first time I think like when I first moved to New York. And then I remember watching the movie and I was like, this woman, this is a performance. Like, this is amazing. So that's my suggestion for that is read the book and then watch that movie and just revel in like how amazing Kathy Bates is. Clearly my recommendation for that book is to watch Kathy Bates. So I had to write down like all the books that I don't have I want to recommend. And the first one is Tender the Flesh. Okay, that book is so fucked up and I love it so much. That's one of the books I read from the library and I never bought an actual copy, but I see it at the bookstore all the time and I'm like, I need to buy this book. It's by an Argentinian author and it's basically about if animal meat was just inedible anymore. And now human meat and flesh has become legal to eat, okay? And what a world like that looks like. And it's so crazy because the descriptions, just that idea, first of all, wild. And then the descriptions of like how we just like breed cattle. It's like we're breeding humans for slaughter basically in that book. And it's insane. The premise is there's this guy and he works at one of these like human breeding factories. And one day this guy gives him like a gift and the gift is a human woman. And I think he has to grapple with like, oh, this is like someone that I'm, you know, being bred for slaughter, but also another human being that I like am now interacting with maybe. And there may be some weird sexual things that happen. I don't know. But just the whole premise of that book is freaking wild and it's horrifying and disturbing. And if you like that, it's for you. Okay, another book I want to recommend. This one might be really random, but it's called The Girl with All the Gifts, okay? And it's about this like it's like a zombie book basically. So it's about this young girl and she's a zombie. But the what I love about that book is her character, the young girl, I've never felt like so much emotion for like a zombie. Like, you know, like her character is just so like real and you just like read it and you're just like, wow, I really feel for this young zombie girl and I love her. And I didn't think I'd feel so much emotion from a zombie book, but that book is really cool and I wish I had a copy here with me and I don't. I read it a long time ago, but if you like zombie books, I think that one's really cool to read. Two books I'm gonna recommend. One, I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. That was my first Ian Reid book that I've ever read. And it's another one that's like along the lines of like something is off. It is weird. So this girl is driving with her boyfriend and they're going to meet his parents. That is literally just like your segue into the book. A girl and her boyfriend going to meet his parents. And you'd think, well, if we've learned anything from Get Out, that's not great. But again, just, you know, a girl and her boyfriend going to meet his parents and, you know, she gets there and things are just weird. Things just are off. The parents are off. Everything about it is just off. And the whole book is so unsettling. It's so unsettling. It's not like anxiety inducing, but you're reading it and you're like, this seems weird and very off, and unsettling is the best word I can describe it. And they made a movie and it's on Netflix and the movie is just as freaking weird. And that's what I like about it. Next is this book called Ring Shout. It has one of the best covers I've ever seen. And it's very short, but it packs a huge punch. I remember reading it and being like, wow, that could have been a full length novel. And it's short, but it's about these girls. They live in the South, of course. And they're hunting down these like monsters, but they are like KKK monsters. And it's a wild time. And just that whole premise, I don't know if it's considered horror or like sci-fi horror, but I mean, they're hunting down monsters and they're trying to like save the world. And yeah, they're hunting down KKK monsters. That's really all I'm going to say about it. And of course I have to recommend one like haunted house book, and that's Jennifer McMahon's The Invited. That was the first book I read by her, and it's about this couple and they are building this house on this like plot of land, and the story jumps between the original story that happened on that plot of land to them like building the house. And of course, things go awry. That's basically what it is. The house they're building a haunted house. That's essentially what they're doing. And it kept me engaged the whole time. Now, I read her other book called The Drowning Kind, did not love, but The Invited, if you want a haunted house story, I think the premise of that is really cool. Like, not a house that's already built and it's like been haunted. No, it's like you are building a haunted house. Well, those are my recommendations. You know, some you've seen before, some hopefully you haven't, and hopefully hopefully they weren't too cliche, and hopefully this will get you to read some things that you've never seen before. But happy Halloween. I am maybe gonna go read another book tonight. I don't know, we'll see. But happy Halloween. Till next time.